And we're back. All right, today's project is going to be an interesting one. I want to build what I call a big ass diffuser on the back of the car here. So I really think it's pretty cool on how the diffusers on the back of the Formula E cars look. You know, they're big, they're prominent, they've got slopes and angles and stuff on them. And I think it's really fits the design of what we're trying to do with the R1 here. So I'm going to look to be able to create, you know, probably about this tall, a little bit taller than the back of this bumper beam here, angling straight down and kind of angling back towards the tire here and creating a whole reveal of kind of a great big diffuser coming out here. So one of the things that I am able to do is, if we take a look at my suspension, the car is up in the air. It's at its maximum droop of the A-arms on the back here. So what's pretty cool about that is that even with them fully drooped down, so as far as it'll go off of the shock tower here, is that there's room underneath the A-arms going straight back. So that means I'm going to be able to create and keep the aluminum under tray coming straight back as a flat bottom right to the back of the frame here. So I put in a couple of, we'll call them supports, kind of like what I did on the back for putting on the tail piece here. And I'm going to run out a steel piece across here. So that steel piece is going to kind of be where the bottom of the aluminum tray goes, and also kind of tucking down in around where the tabs or overlap of the diffuser will meet up. So then I'll be able to create and put up a couple of bolts and washers there to hold everything up against the bottom of the tray. Maybe run another bar across over into my structure that I have on the side. And that's going to give me really a really nice flat bottom back and a good solid mounting point here. Now, this is going to be a little bit trickier. I want the diffuser to match the angle that we created on the rear back plate here, and I want the diffuser to have a lip around it, kind of like what's on the Formula E cars. So I'm going to have a bit of a space off of here that's going to come back and do it and connect back in there. Now we've got a bunch of sheets of fiberglass that I'm probably going to use for doing this diffuser. So I'm able to cut it and shape it and hold it together, similar with the aluminum tabs that I did with the rest of when I was trying to put the body panels together, to hold everything in form, find the right mounting points and how I want to mount it on the sides here. And in this back corner, I'm going to be running some Heim joints back and forth to be able to make it like a stay coming off the frame here to hold it from having any kind of flex up and down, so it'll be able to connect straight back into the chassis and be a nice solid point for the outer point of the diffuser that'll still be fairly tall here and coming up. So, you know, I'm picturing kind of coming up about here. My height is going to be dependent on how much clearance I'm going to have around where my shifter cable is going to come in from the side here on the back of the chassis. So I'm going to have to run that around and over on top of the diffuser, but it'll be angling down. So I think I've got lots of room there. So first step for me is going to be welding in these little support pieces, same length on either side, and that'll be kind of our starting point. Okay, so we've got the rear, I guess you call it mounting point there, running underneath, got it all welded in place. And started to put just some supporting bars here so this diffuser doesn't drop below the bottom of the tray. Now, the idea here is to run these right about here-ish, just kind of coming back to the corner here. Now, the different angles is going to make this kind of look interesting at the back, which is kind of neat. So the idea is to get an even spacing of the seam coming back here to hold it in place. So I'm going to need a couple of little mounting spots, one at the bottom, and then maybe one along the side here, maybe coming from this middle bar here, coming out to hold it there, and that should hold the two pieces in place, and maybe a spot coming off here, I'm not sure, just to kind of hold it where I want it and hold it sturdy up on the top. And then essentially going to be another small piece here, and then it'll be kind of bridging back to that with a diffuser piece in the middle. So that's the next step, is figuring out my bracketry on the back here to hold this piece in place to begin with. Then we can start working on the end pieces and the distance coming across. And that has all the welding done. So I created little tabs on the back here to connect kind of the bottom and the top pieces. So it gives us kind of this flared out view here, where the top of the diffuser is going to come, and then it'll trail down to kind of back about here behind the tire, and then join back up on both sides. So we got both sides on here, same sizes. Next up will be to then join them down on the diffuser. I ended up having to make sure I had the plate on, that I had enough room here on either side to be able to run the plate, so the brackets stemmed off of that to kind of keep an even look across the back. And so next step is building out, I guess you kind of call it the box structure, coming across to the other side here. So that's going to be the next step, and figuring out how to kind of brace things over there as well to kind of keep it square. Not quite sure how I'll do that, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. So that's the next step. I think we have the general shape here. I think I'm liking the angles and everything that's coming up from the bottom here. I might want to just draw this corner back here a little bit, just so this isn't a straight down, that it's coming on a little bit of an angle, just to match a little bit more of the angle on the back there. I think that might look pretty cool. But overall, the shape looks kind of neat. It's got all the angles and everything, and then end up running a single fin down the middle. So that, the next step I think is just really bringing this back here to get the right distance that I want. I think the top piece is good, and then we'll do the fin. So what I did is I put my square here on the beam that we brought out. I think at the back here I'm doing a flat piece that goes underneath this part. And just like that, the SD card got full, so there's no more space on the camera for filming. So we're gonna get right back into it again here, start of another day. I managed to finish off most of the left-hand side of the car. So we'll show the parts that I didn't finish up on there on the right-hand side. So I gotta replicate what I did on the left-hand side over on the right-hand side. So we'll show some of the different processes to go through that, and then we'll kind of show them both together, and we can kind of take a look at it. So I'm really excited about how it's looking. So we're gonna get the right hand done, and to start on that, gotta cut out some fiberglass to be able to match the pattern to the left-hand side. We now have the right-hand side back up to the point of where we had the left side when we ran out of SD card space. So I've got everything all braced in here, so the aluminum braces on the side, and then essentially create a straight line from corner to corner here, because our middle fin we don't want to stick out past that plane that comes across there. So measured the halfway point across the back, the halfway point across the bottom. So that's the same measurements as we had on the other side, and then cut a fin. So it made a cardboard template, and then ended up cutting the fin here. So we've got our top and bottom marked. So if we spin these around, this will then come in here right along this line. So we create a couple of, I'm basically going to create right angle brackets because that will give it pretty much the same kind of an angle as the outside here, a little bit less. So it's the same as the left hand side. I always call it the driver's side, but the driver's in the middle of this car, so the left hand side. So now we just need to create a couple of brackets here to hold that. And then the next step from that is really creating essentially a stay across here. So this is kind of floating in midair. Since it's connected to the chassis here with 3 different screws, I will end up having a tab here and a plate that goes underneath that screws into the bottom of this support. But out here can get floppy and move around. So we'll end up putting a bracket out here with a couple of heim joints on both ends to run it up to the chassis so that it can't go up and down. It just holds it totally in place. So we'll get this middle bracket in here, and then we'll start making the bracketry to make this go. So here's the bracket that we've created. So we've got some heim joints here. They'll end up going essentially into the end of the tubes and get the nut welded on. I've got some extra nuts coming just so that you can secure the length of these, so you can adjust in and out on how far we want that to stay. And then just basically created and bended a little aluminum bracket that allows us to connect, and then it'll bolt down onto the back of the diffuser there. And then this will be welded into the bar going up and holding that against the chassis so that nothing can move back there. So next step, I've got to create another one of these out of steel this time that will be welded onto the chassis. All right, got the back end all, well, basically the right side, and the same that I had the left side on there. Still a little bit of work to do to be able to connect it, the bottom side, onto the chassis, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. So we can take a look here. Got kind of a look at the rear diffuser. We pull back a little bit. It's pretty funky looking across the back. Again, you know, trying to take some inspiration from the Formula E diffusers on there. We can see that we've got our stays on here now, basically the heim joints and stuff welded on here and down here. Got a little bit of droop in the back corner that we'll need to pull up when I suck this up here to go flat underneath the bottom over there. So we've got some screws tapped into the ends here, so there will end up being a plate going all the way across that I'll end up drilling up and putting into this bar, but I'm going to wait till I've got the aluminum floor on there, and I'll drill a single hole up that'll hold both the diffuser and the floor onto the bottom of this, and then kind of curl it around the corner here, just so that I've got an extra tab on the side just for a little bit extra secureness on just that outside corner, just the extremities, you know, kind of out here, up here, and kind of all where there will be stress points on the extremities. So those are the places that I'm going to want to put a little bit of extra oomph, we'll call it. So now it's just a matter of cutting out some little pieces to go along the bottom of these bars coming out. They'll support the bottom end, and that should have the diffuser all sorted. Last bit will be when I pull this all off, when it's a little bit warmer, and actually use some epoxy fiberglass to seal all these things and take all the screws and plates out that are holding it in place and in shape. So let's get those bottom plates. And that has everything wrapped up. You can see here, create a little brace on the side to be able to bolt the fiberglass in there with the little washer. Created the little plate on the bottom that sits flush on the bottom of this bar that'll get drilled and tapped once we get the aluminum piece on there. So we've got that all set up, as well as this side's got the same treatment across the back there. So everything on the diffuser is all set to go. Everything's all fabricated up. So happy to get that project done. Still gotta wait to see kind of where the exhaust is going to come out once we get the body panel on the top. I don't want to have too much clearance issues with it. A small little muffler just did come in the mail, so I'll have to play around with that, and also clocking the turbo and doing a few things for the exhaust to get prepped and ready to go. But really happy with how the diffuser turned out. We'll see what the next project is. We still got a little bit more fabrication to go on the metal side of things, and then it's really going to be down into wiring and body work. So thanks a lot for joining, and hope to see you in the next video.